Many people were saved by the quick reactions of teachers and students. Culinary arts teacher Ashley Kurth sheltered dozens of students in her classroom, including David Hogg, a senior at Stoneman Douglas High. David is a student journalist who has interviewed his fellow classmates during the shooting.
So what's your message?
I really don't think there's anything new to say, but there shouldn't have to be, because if you looked around this closet and saw everyone just hiding together, you would know that this shouldn't be happening anymore and that it doesn't deserve to happen to anyone.
And now David Hogg and Ashley Kurth are seeing each other for the first time since the shooting, and they join us from Parkland. Good morning, David. This is your teacher, and I know this is the first who welcomed you into her classroom, and I know this is the first time you've been with her since then. What do you want to say to her?
Thank you, honestly. Because of her heroic actions, she saved easily like 60 students' lives, or however many were in that classroom. And the sad part is she shouldn't have had to. This should never have happened. And it's unbelievable. There are not words to describe the amount of gratitude that I feel towards Chef Kurth's heroic actions. And in a matter of, I would say, 30 seconds, taking in all of those students and fitting them in about 100 feet of square space is something that nobody that isn't a true hero could do.
I know, Chef Kurth, I've heard you say you're not a hero, but clearly you are to a lot of people. A lot of family and friends are certainly thanking you today. And I read that you said one of the hardest things was you had at least 60 kids in your room, and then you had to shut the door and tell people to keep running. Take us to exactly what was going on and how difficult this was for you.
Well, I mean, we had just recently gone through a training, and I've been through a live action shooter training at my previous school. And, you know, flight or flight just takes place, and I just started grabbing as much kids as I could in from that one door, and then I ran over to the other side just to make sure my other door was secured. And I remember I was shaking as I was trying to put my key into the door, and my head was sticking out, and you could just see all the kids pouring out of the freshman building, just screaming, terrified. And I quickly ran to the other door just to grab as many as I could that were running by, and the ones that were still running, I just kept screaming at them. I'm like, keep running, don't stop. Because at that point, I mean, you were hearing gunshots go off, and it was ricocheting with the sound off the other building, and we didn't know whether it was one shooter or two. And one of the boys that initially ran into my room was like, there's two shooters on, and the kids were just, it was very intense. It feels like it was like an hour, but in reality, it was like 30 seconds. And I remember standing there with like, after my one friend, Tammy Aurelio, came in with her last two kids that were falling behind, it was like a lull in the amount of kids that were going through, and I saw another bunch rushing through, and I'm like, I couldn't stand there and hold the door anymore, so I had to just shut the door and just go into my office area with them, and we just started assessing with the kids that were there. We got my laptop out and started taking down the names of all the students that were currently in the room and my faculty members that were with me. So we had 65 kids shoved in my dry storage closet, in my office, and in my laundry area. So it was, and all you could hear is just screaming and gunshots all around.
And David, your reaction was, well, you took out your camera. Why was that your instinct?
After we realized this wasn't a drill, I knew that if I was going to die with those around me, I wanted our voices to carry on and precede the ages of time, because even if our souls couldn't, our stories could still have an impact and cause some real change in this country, and that is certainly something that we all need right now.
You're exactly right. David, you are so poised and so articulate. I've seen many interviews with you. One of the most touching things I heard came from a reporter at CBS after the last shooting. Steve Hartman said, "We pray, we mourn, we repeat," because it goes on, and you have so passionately called for change this time. What is it that you want? What is your message to the lawmakers?
To the lawmakers, I say, work together. No matter what policy you support, you guys are politicians. Make some compromises, get some stuff done, and keep doing it. Actually, keep your promises. Don't just make false promises just so you can get reelected. Actually follow through. And who knows, maybe you'll save some children's lives, because the amount of deaths that I've had to deal with my sister having 3 of her best friends die, and the numerous other families that have to go home to silent rooms for the rest of their lives with no children, is absolutely unacceptable. It's deplorable, and something has to change. The policymakers in this country must work together, and I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. These are children's lives. That's the end of the line. And if you want to have mental health reform, you support that. If you want to have universal background checks, you support that. Why not do both? Politicians compromise, and we can get this done. It's just a matter of overcoming our political barriers in order to save children's lives, and in that way, our future too.
It's an issue of both.
Okay, Ashley Kurth and David Hogg, thank you so much.